Ah yes, the prep list. Let's hope you're using one, or at least using some sort of system or structure that does everything that this one does. This means prioritizing, automating, and expanding your tasks in a way that also keeps track of something that I call prospective requests, and even your order list, believe it or not. And yes, in typical fashion, there is a free template that I want to gift to you. It's free to download, so you can start using this as soon as tomorrow. What's up folks, my name is Justin Khanna, and nearly 5 years ago I made my first video that I ever produced about prep lists and how I think about tasks and working in professional kitchens. But the visual tools that I used in that video was a combination of a crumpled piece of paper and some screenshots from Google Docs. And since then I've developed and taken students through my cohort-based course where I teach all of my principles of kitchen productivity, and this template, this prep list structure system way of thinking has been one of the standout pieces of positive feedback from my students. And so for this next cohort, I'm taking a bunch of the skills, turning them into downloadable templates, and sharing them with everybody who enrolls. This prep list is one of them, and I wanted to share it here with everybody. I'm gonna run through this template using a dinner that I actually did on Saturday. I had a friend who was booked to do a dinner. She ended up getting COVID, asked me to jump in at the last minute, and it was 3 courses plus snacks at a private client's home. Starting off with the projects, and these are listed in just a top-down kind of sideways nature, so everything lives with the tasks that it's associated with. We talk about that in the course, that projects are made up of tasks. So the way that my sheet looks, I have snacks as project number 1, asparagus as project 2, trout as 3 because that was the main course, and then strawberry as dessert, that was number 4. And I want to take a second to call out a cool part of this prep list that, you know, you could just say this is just a bunch of lines on a piece of paper, but it's these little reminders at the bottom that as you're learning how to use this system and really maybe organize yourself in a different way that feels potentially counterintuitive, I find these to be really helpful. And so one of the reminders on the bottom of the sheet is expansion. And so you might see on my prep list here that I don't have just asparagus as my line item for the asparagus dish. I have cut asparagus and blanch asparagus. In other words, what I find folks doing sometimes is not expanding tasks to give them the amount of seriousness that they deserve. They're not granular enough with how they break tasks down. I think I shared in my original prep list video that I wouldn't just write butcher fish, I would write clean fish, cure fish, portion fish as part of my prep list to properly expand it. I have one other reminder on this sheet that I find to be pretty helpful, and it's the point about automating, because I feel like a lot of people get caught in their head of, I need to be multitasking, I need to be doing multiple things at the same time, as thinking that they can have one hand that's individually turning radishes and another one that's taking the bones off of individual fish fillets. The way that I try to explain to students is don't think about multitasking, think about automating. And so this means if you have some juice that needs to reduce on the stove, if you have bones that need to roast in the oven, if you have something that needs to go in the dehydrator and dry out for a specific amount of time, that needs to be something that can go first. And while that's going, that's automated, that's already working without your involvement, you can do more of the hands-on projects where you are really required to use both hands. Because those projects take time and you usually want to stack those at the beginning so that you can do other things later, those always get a 1 on your prep list, and so those need to be done first. Speaking of prioritization, the other thing that I'm a big fan of recommending that gets a 1 is what I call big projects. These are the scary things, the things that if you didn't touch them for extended amounts of time, you would start to get nervous. You'd start to be like, I don't know if I'm going to be set up on time. Those types of projects need to also get a 1 next to them. After we've got our 1 sorted, now I ask myself, what are those last minute tasks? I call these tasks that have a very short lifespan. This means tender herbs that are going to get brown, fruit or vegetables that are going to oxidize like apples or avocados. Effectively anything that's going to degrade in quality from when you do it to when the guest is going to enjoy it. All of those items, if you scan down your task list, all of those items get a 3. And now that you've identified the 2 sides of the barbell effectively, everything in the middle gets a 2. When a list like this is properly prioritized, there's effectively no question on what to work on next. It's laid out for you like a beautiful step-by-step roadmap. Congratulations, you've successfully prioritized and expanded your prep list, but we're not done yet. Because what 2017 Justin didn't have as part of his prep list template is this left-hand column as part of this download. Students of Total Station Domination get taught a framework for something that's called Night Before Prep, which is effectively a framework to walk through individually visualizing and planning for improving day after day. That's what the notes section of this prep list template is for, so we're not going to cover that in this video. So moving down the sheet, the perspective request section is effectively everything that you will be planning on asking or communicating that you just want to get out of your head. For me, on this list, I had 2 items. One was where are snacks, and the other one was enough plates. These are just like little reminders that help me not store that information in my brain, and then it's documented in one place, and then when I get to the place or I'm thinking about, oh yeah, I remember I needed to ask something, the information is here. There's that great anecdote. Your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. And the reason this section is important is because there might be items on this list that aren't necessarily about prep or your menu, or even food in general. This means you have to ask about vacation time. Maybe there's a new dish idea that you saw on Instagram that you want to talk to your sous chef about. It might be submitting a reimbursement receipt. There's a bunch of stuff that all of us have to do on the day-to-day. And just below that, that's your order list. And this is another one of my favorite things because keeping track of this throughout the day and giving little reminders to yourself of, you use the last carton of buttermilk and just putting that down on the list that you need it. Or you happen to have run out of Telecherry peppercorns and you need to add those to the list because you know that the spice order happens only once a month, and so if you miss out on this order, you're not going to be able to get it again, or you're going to have to go to the store and get some other stuff. You know how it goes. And the best part, the most productive unlock here is that as you're keeping track of your order list throughout your day, you can get to the end of the day or right before it's time to submit your order to your manager, or whoever does that in the restaurant, and you can have 60 to 80% of it done versus having that rack your brain, you're low on blood sugar, the adrenaline is starting to fade, and you're starting to get a little bit tired, and then you're trying to force your brain to think about what do I need to order for tomorrow. That can be really stressful. These are little fun details that I get excited about. We have a date field at the top, so if you're the type of person who wants to look back at these in years and years and see exactly that it was March 14th that you decided to write this prep list and what were you doing, what were you cooking, what were you thinking about, I think that's kind of cool. And then the other 2 blank sections on the top, you can input multiple pieces of information here. This can be the guest count for the night, this can be the restaurant that you're working at that day, this can be the station you're on. That is the new prep list template, as well as how to use it. If you want to check out the download and get this for yourself so you can start using it, or even just cherry pick individual elements of this that might make their way into your notebook, I would highly recommend doing so. It's available down low in the description or on joinrepertoire.com/preplist. In case you didn't know, this is just one of the almost 25 skills that I teach as part of Total Station Domination. And these are skills that took me 5, 6, 7 years to not just learn, but develop and internalize and really get structured in a way that I felt like I could not just teach myself and master them, but then talk to my line cooks about them and help them increase their performance. I teach the course in cohorts, and so this isn't a bunch of videos behind a paywall. This is genuinely me teaching these things live with a cohort, so a group of other industry professionals, and we do exercises together. There are breakout rooms. We're bringing alumni back for this cohort. We're doing guest speaker sessions, and of course, we're doing a bunch of downloads. And so this is actually going to be part of a larger TSD workbook that I'm really, really excited about. And you get that, I think, on day 3 after you enroll, which is really, really cool. You can also upgrade your course experience to get group coaching from me. Everybody who upgrades to get that coaching gets a one-on-one session with me all the way at the end. And then the top tier actually gets knives sponsored from JB Prince. And so it's a 10.1-inch Giotto knife, and it just gets sent to you as part of your enrollment. And so shout out to JB Prince for sponsoring that and effectively making that possible for the, I think it's just 8 students are getting access to that knife as part of this cohort. If you're watching this after cohort 2 has gone live, you can check out more information about Total Station Domination on joinrepertoire.com/TSD. I made Total Station Domination because I know what it feels like to be scattered and disorganized and to be perceived as the weakest link in the chain of the high caliber kitchen team. It sucks. And the difference between that Justin, who was feeling lost, and the Justin that you see that has unshakable levels of confidence, who I am today, is just skills and time. I can't put in the time for you, but what I can do is present the skills in a structured way that you can actually take action on, that just wasn't unique to me or told by a mentor to me in a weird exclusive environment where I only happened to be able to replicate this in this kitchen. No, I've gone to tons of kitchens. I've worked with hundreds of people in individual coaching calls over the years, and I know that this works. And that's the goal of TSD. I hope to see you in an upcoming cohort, even if it's not cohort number 2. Thanks so much for your attention as always. My name is Justin Khanna, and I hope you have a good one.